to touch a little on this. And I want to congratulate some of the achievers, top achievers in education. And, I also, want to, ask solutions while we de-stress, to enjoy ourselves, exhale a little, but, let's not lose focus, because you can't exactly dance your problems away. At the end of the day, the issues will still be present, and so we must not lose focus. But I'm hoping that we'll have a very interesting program today. I have a couple of callers that I entertain before we open the lines to everyone else. But to begin with this morning...
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Any developments as far as the local calypsos are concerned? Those who are critical of the incumbent, because there are few.
Yeah, well,
there are few.
Well, I mean, that is what is expected. And you see, because I say so, and people take it, because, of course, I'm a part of the United Workers' Party, I'm a former government minister, people take it in a certain light. But the reality is, traditionally, calypsonians sing against the government, whether it is UWP or SLP. And like I mentioned the name last time, and I'm going to do it again. Morgie is a good partner of mine, so I have the license to mention his name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he'll not be upset if I say that everybody knows that Morgie is a UWP supporter. But Morgie has hit us. When we're in government, Morgie has hit us, and so at the end of the day, it comes with the territory, it's understood, and so on. And again, the important role of the calypsonian is to chronicle and document the plight of the people. And if you know, traditionally, people refer to the calypsonians as the voice of the masses. And so we have seen a departure from that. And I, in particular, picked on Herb Black, because, I was a little disturbed by his song last year, and I'm saying to myself, there is a government to shove down the throats of the people of their country, something they don't even know about, something they don't even understand. So much so that they don't even know the proper pronunciation, the proper name for it. And you impose it upon the people, and you're going to sing against the people. The government has to be blasted for that, because we're still in a democracy, and if the people are saying that you require a referendum before you go into CCJ, you should respect that. And that's where the calypsonian who has a stage comes in to advocate those things. You don't come and sing for the government and ridicule the people who don't even know what it's all about. And so I thought that departure is not a good thing for our democracy. And I've been in government, Andre. It's not a nice feeling. I go to the tents to sit there and hear them blasting your government, sometimes blasting you,
Mm-hmm.
But you have to take it. It comes with the territory.
I was going to ask you that question. When you hear the criticism, right, either at the tents or maybe you're driving someplace, you hear the song playing. You as a government minister, when you were there, in fact, the party in general, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you want to hit back at that particular individual?
No, Andre. Sometimes I actually laugh. I enjoy it. I'll not come out and say some of it is justified, Andre. You can't say I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes deep down inside, you do some soul searching and say, okay, we asked for it. But there are other times now you hear sometimes misrepresentation, because sometimes you know the truth, but the propaganda out there is something different than the calypsonians. And you wish you could come and clear the air, but you just have to take your blows,
Mm-hmm.
And so...
But we've often heard about sort of backlash from politicians, that they sideline you, they attack you, things like that. We've heard these stories constantly.
Well,
and even to the point that there's a school of thought that anyone who sings a calypso which is contrary or critical of the incumbent cannot win.
Cannot win the crown.
Yeah, cannot win. What is your take on that?
Well, it tells me, if that is the case, that the organization has been hijacked, because the judges are the one who make the decision at the end of the day. So are you saying that the judges are not fair?
You don't think judges are swayed by politicians?
Not necessarily by politicians. Well, they could be. They could be, because of late, I must confess, I notice a lot of hijacking of civil society organizations, where you have the political infiltration taking place. That happens, and there's no question about it. It happened in the media as well. And so that the party or the government can control the narrative and have their people push their agenda. But that is not good for democracy, Andre.
Or you have people who maybe oppose the government and they write the songs for the calypsonians.
That's right. And that too, and that's important, because you see, this keeps the government in check. And people may not value the significance and the relevance of that, but in a society, there are checks and balances. Now, this is not one of the official institutions to keep a check on the government. But popular culture, we know, goes a long way, Andre, and sometimes it resonates even more than the official institutions, and so governments are kept in check. I mean, it is said that in the past that songs have brought down governments, you know. I mean,
Well, exactly.
I am no expert on that, and I'm speculating here. But in Trinidad, when it was said that the sinking, captain, the ship is sinking, had a big part to play in the election. I don't know if you recall, and that's arguable. I mean, when, you know, in '97, there were some songs sung against the government, you know, and even after the election, you know, there were some songs sung against the UWP, which reflected the sentiments on the ground. And of course, not just reflecting the sentiment, but influence the sentiment as well. So the calypsonians are powerful, and so they should use that power for the benefit of the people and the state.
Right, I understand that. But then the incumbent now is the response. Because as you just said there, especially if what they're saying is true, right? We've
Well,
heard...
you see, we cannot be living in a true democracy when we are all afraid of our government. And that is what I seem to be getting now. Your colleague in the media, Stanley Lucian, I got a clip of a statement Stanley was making where he was saying that one particular media house was getting the lion's share of the carnival work. I mean, I guess he's talking about ads and so on. Okay, he's getting the lion's share of it while the others are being starved, and that it is not right. But everyone is afraid of talking. They are cowards. Now, when you see people begin to be afraid of their own government, that says something about the kind of democracy you have in the country.
Well, they're afraid of being attacked.
And victimized.
Exactly. That's what I mean when I say attack. And
Yeah,
that's the problem.
And that's not true democracy. You know, you have to make provision for and let all views contend.
But let me ask you, Mr. Montoute,
Yeah.
when you're sitting in a government and you know that's taking place, there's victimization, right, or attacks coming from government ministers simply because they've been criticized by either a calypsonian or somebody in the media or whatever, right? I mean, how do you feel knowing that you may be aware of it? You may not be doing it, but there may be your colleagues you know who are practicing this sort of thing.
Well, I will say, and again, it may sound like, you know, bias coming from me, but I would say that I don't think the UWP really practices that. You know, if anything, we get a lot of criticism. We got a lot of criticism in the last administration by our own people saying that we are supporting or like providing opportunities for people who are known supporters of the other side. So that in itself, you know, so we have to defend it by saying to them, well, we represent everyone. We cannot just, you know, be biased and so on. Now, at the end of the day, the opposition, when our opposition criticizes us occasionally saying we practice that, when in fact there's more evidence that they do. You understand what I'm saying? And I do not condone it, I do not support it, because at the end of the day, Andre, just because you support the government and the government will ensure that they take care of you, I pay taxes just like you. I'm a St. Lucian, just like you. I'm a citizen, just like you, and I have a right to make my choice in terms of my allegiance, my political affiliation, and so on. And you cannot use that against people, you know, and that it be allowed. So we have to call it out when it happens. And one of the institutions
even if it's your own ranks to call it out, because we're not feeling that, Mr.
Okay,
Montoute.
but let me just say to you personally, I can speak for myself. I must admit I may not necessarily come on Andre Paul's program to blast my colleague and so on, but internally I have access to them and so on. I will say to them how I feel about it and that it should not be done. And there were colleagues of ours who were being criticized heavily, you know. Fortuna, for example, during jazz, during those special events and so on, the people who were being hired, some people were calling to say, well, these people are not UWPs and so on. But her response was that, look, I am looking at their competence, not their affiliation. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, and even when I made the statement in my first term in government that 90% of the people who were in the home care program were labor operative, it was a fact. I mean, Emma Hippolyte actually admitted by saying our people and, you know, those kind of things. And in fact, they said I fired the people. That never happened. The contract ended. And so we had a new set of people, which was actually the spirit of the engagement, okay, that you give other people an opportunity. But there were also people who were kept in the program who are actually known supporters of the other side. I mean, I'm from Groseley. I live in Groseley. Groseley is not, well, very populated, but not too much of a big place that I don't have an idea who's who. And I never get involved in those things. When I'm distributing, for example, notebooks and things, so because I did that during my tenure. You know, my wife ensured that. She said, you know what? You can go for your photo op, but stay out of the distribution. So the school says to us, we need 500 or 2,000 notebooks, whatever the case might be. We go to the school, I stand up by the notebooks and present one to the principal and take my photo because, I mean, I have to do my PR and so on, and I'm gone. I have no clue. The teachers and the principals are the ones who decide which kid gets which kid. Because I don't know who are the kids who are in need and who are the kids who are not. And so we stay out of those things, you know. And so sometimes there are contributions I want to make, and I channel it through an organization. You know?
So let me ask you the question about what Stanley raised. Some media houses getting, carnival ads and so on. And
I wanted to ask you about that, but go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. I hope you ask me. Yeah, so let's just assume for a second that is true. How can something like that happen? Who has that kind of sway? Who has that influence to tell me you can control who gets which ads and who?
The buck stops with the minister responsible, the Minister of Culture, Minister of Creative Industries, that is Dr. Ernest Hilaire. The buck stops with him. Who are the people involved? And let's not be hypocritical about it. Stanley say we are all cowards, we don't talk about it, so let me try not to be a coward and say it as it is. Tamara Gibson is associated with Radio Caribbean. There are many opportunities that are given to Radio Caribbean, even to Tamara Gibson herself, okay, who is very much involved in directing what happens in Carnival. And she is also involved, I think, in tourism as well. So these people, when you look at the players involved and the people who get the jobs and so on, they are all connected and all have a direct link with the St. Lucia Labour Party. There's no question about that, no doubt about that. And these people go about it in a systematic way. You can they ensure that their people are the ones who benefit. Now, for some reason, HTS, who has been doing, and Stanley in particular, has been doing quite a pretty good job for the government, felt offended and slighted that they were not getting their fair share of the pie. And he spoke out about it, and I give him credit for that, for speaking out against it. But, I mean, I'm saying, Andre, with all the ads and all the promos and things so that were going on, did Rev Up get their fair share?
Nothing.
You know? So
we got nothing.
You know? I mean...
Not one.
And these are the things that we have to speak out against, because it is... Let me just explain to you, Andre, you asked me, what does that have to do with me? You might ask me that. It is my tax dollar that you're playing politics with. Okay? I couldn't be bothered, you know, whether it is Andre Paul or this one or that one, but everybody ought to get a share of the pie. You know, and that is what a true democracy is about. And when you talk about a government for the people, I mean, they pride themselves about putting people first. It's a small clique that they put first. Because if you put in people generally first, you would ensure that you share the pie. And you know, these are the things.
And by the way, the same applied for the Jazz Festival. We got nothing.
Nothing, right? That cannot continue. Whereas one set of people are enriched through those events, you know, like Carnival and so on. You know.
But isn't that a conflict of interest? I'm talking about Tamara Gibson. Isn't that a conflict? I mean, you have a radio station. You also the chair of the Carnival Planning Committee.
Well,
right? Certainly, if you're in that position, you would favor your radio station. But I mean, that doesn't mean you can't be open enough or mature enough to share the goodies.
Well, you see, the thing about it is that we don't talk about it as we should. But this government is a government of conflict of interest. There's no question about that. I mean, we see it happening in so many times, so often, in so many cases. That's what's happening. There's a lot of incestual operations taking place in this government. And, you know, that is the problem that, you know, a lot of St. Lucians don't speak out against, because you're afraid that they will marginalize you, they will target you, they will victimize you, and so on.
But don't you think that in this case of Stanley, what Stanley's saying, and if you feel that Stanley probably favors the incumbent, isn't it strange that if he favors the incumbent, why wouldn't Radio 100 get the lion's share?
But you see, Andre, I mean, you may favor my party, but I am a more influential person than you are in the party. They give me the responsibility, so I decide how it is distributed.
Okay.
Because when we talk about conflict of interest, the media zone that he's talking about, I think that is Choice. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know who is the owner of Choice,
I certainly do.
and you know where she works. You know?
No, I don't know.
Defense St. Lucia.
Oh,
Now, I mean, I don't talk about it, so maybe Stanley might consider me to be among the cowards as well. But these are the things that we have to highlight in this country, you know. We have to highlight it. And I'm hoping that it's not only when Stanley is affected directly, that he highlights it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? There are other cases that he has to bring to the fore, because he has a medium where he can do that, you know. And I was happy when I heard him bring it out, not just because it is against the government, but because it is not right.
I think I heard those
Yeah.
same statements on another station as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the government decides who gets ads, who doesn't, and so on.
So
Now,
the government makes those decisions?
yes, you have a Minister of Information,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they dictate those things. Now, a lot of the
Wow.
public servants too, go along with the flow.
But
You
if your party wins the next elections,
Mhm.
don't you think it's time, right, to take a look at this thing again and have some kind of independent body, right? People will not be biased and have that sort of control where
Well,
they can
Andre,
manipulate.
I can say without fear of contradiction that we did not practice that. I was directly responsible for SSDF. And I found out that SSDF was doing business with Choice. And we knew where Choice stood. I certainly knew where Choice stood. They were doing business with Choice. I didn't get involved in that. Because you had an executive director. He was running the thing. All he has to do is report to me. I will ensure everything is correct, everything is right. I can report to the cabinet that this was so on. I can answer the questions and so on. And other than that, I allowed them to do their thing. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't dictate to them that you cannot give this person job, you cannot give that person job. I mean, and if I may say it, when I was the minister responsible for SSDF, one of the people in a high position in SSDF was Dr. Robert Lewis's brother.
Mhm.
Joachim Henry was the executive director, you know, of SSDF while I was there, and so on. You think I really did not know these people's political affiliation? You know, it didn't matter to me. But mind you, when the government changed, I had a brother who worked there. People like him got their marching orders, you know. I don't make it. I told him straight, I'm not going to take it on because he's my brother, and I don't do it to sound like I'm, you know, thinking. I said, had it been someone else, I would have taken it on, you know. But these are the things that happen. Open victimization and so on. Nobody speaks. When it is done by the UWP, because it has happened a few times, it is highlighted. A big deal, a big scene is made of it. But nobody talks when you know. Because look at what Richard Frederick is doing to that vendor.
Mhm.
Now, this is a lady who does not hide her political affiliation, Joycelyn. Everybody knows where she stands. She used to support Richard when he was a UWP. You know, right now she continues to be a UWP. And no one can tell me that there's not political victimization involved in this one. So these are the things that happen, and then you know, talk about conflict of interest and favoritism, nepotism, and all of that. Now, I mentioned Papa Vader, man, and I hate to do that because, you know, her black invader Alpha are among my favorite calypsonians and remain that way.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean I can say what I think, you know what I'm saying, or I cannot make a criticism of them, you know. But I mean, I see Invader has a booth in that very same area. Invader has a booth there, you know. And I'm asking myself, is that payback, you know what I'm saying? Is that payback for singing the right tune? You know, and then Joycelyn, who is a known vendor, you're going to victimize her, come out on your program and expose her and make comments about her using your high office to do that. That cannot be right.
But you know, before you get into your
Yeah.
subject or topic
Right.
for today, Mr. Montoute, I really like to implore you that if and when you do get back in office, either you or all the members of your party, you have to go against this thing where politicians are using their power to deny a St. Lucian their bread. This is not right.
Now, Andre, I will tell you straight. I mean, I don't know of if it been practiced by the UWP. I personally did not practice it. And I will tell you something, Andre. I can give you many cases, but that's not my style. If this morning I brought that glass of water for Andre, I don't think it's proper for me to make the world know that. You understand what I'm saying? And that is why when I, for example, I did feeding programs and so on, nobody knew. I will not, now I believe in my PR, so I will put generally on Wednesdays we have a Feed the Poor program and so on. But I will not take a picture with me handing a plate to you. I will not do it. Now, I'm not saying, you may say there's nothing wrong with that, Andre, that's just my personal principle. I do not think if a person is down and out that you should in any way make their plight even worse by making them feel some embarrassment, making them feel any humiliation or anything like that. I just feel, look, if you do it out of the goodness of your heart, there are certain things that I consider to be charity. You should not be looking for reward for that. And that's just how I look at it. However, there are also people who got favorable assistance from the departments or portfolios that I held, and so on. And I'll call the names. Now, I mentioned Robert Lease's brother because he's a politician, so I can say that. Joachim Henry is a politician, so I mentioned him. But there are many, many others. You understand?
So you said that under your administration, at least you tried your best, or the administration tried their best not to victimize the people and so on. Well, we'll allow the public to be the judge of that.
The judge of that, yes.
Okay.
And we have to call it out when it happens. You know. Yeah. So, Andre, I want to start this morning. I have a few callers that I want to call in to deal with one or two of the topics that I want to talk about. I have one of them is the leader of the opposition. So if he's listening, I just want to ask him, as soon as he's ready, he can call in while we continue our discussion.
Let me just give the numbers.
Yes.
The fixed line is 572-9710. The fixed line is 572-9710. Or the WhatsApp platform, it is 287-0971. WhatsApp is 287-0971. Again, the fixed line, 572-9710. WhatsApp 287-0971.
Yes, and so whenever the leader of the opposition calls, we'll allow him to speak. There are a number of matters that are taking place. I'm hearing some slightly new developments in the CIP. We are hearing that there's a case that is being filed in St. Kitts about the real estate option, and if that case goes through and it is successful, we in fact have a similar situation in St. Lucia, so that can have implications for us here as well. I was told that case will be taking place in October, but I would like the leader of the opposition to call in and to speak a little more on that. I have some new information about GPH, the global pot holding, about our pot. The people to whom our pots were given, I mean, the government said lease, but I consider it to be a giveaway, a sellout. The pots were given, the arcade was given, the Banans Bay area, the Soufre pot, and all of that was given to them. I have on my phone here a document which outlines all the concessions on top of the giveaway. They're giving them concessions, 100% duty-free concession on materials, on equipment, and all of those things. So I asked myself at the end of the day, what is the benefit to St. Lucians of those arrangements? Because at least you could tell me, okay, they're going to do the development. When they bring in the material, the equipment, and so on, we're going to get the duties that will somehow, one way or the other, indirectly or directly benefit you and I. But that is not the case. So they're giving away the whole shop, it seems, to foreigners. Now,
you have the leader of the opposition on air.
Good morning, the Honorable Alan Chastney. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And welcome to Meet the Opposition. I'm welcoming you to meet yourself. So, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Andre.
Good morning to you, Mr. Leader of the Opposition. Nice hearing your voice.
Spider, if you before we begin, there was something that Andre said that I really want to amplify on.
Please go ahead,
if you don't mind. So, Andre, the purpose, and hopefully the audience can understand and appreciate what I'm going to say. The purpose of the Constitution of St. Lucia was to empower a government to work for the best interests of the citizens, because it's impossible for each individual citizen every day to participate in all the decisions that government has to make. So where the ads go is a good example. And the purpose of the Constitution is to protect the rights of the individuals, to make sure that there are checks and balances in the system to prevent that from happening. And I think that where we have found ourselves today in St. Lucia is honestly is a government that, in my humble opinion, has lost legitimacy in governing this country. Because the manner in which they're doing it, they're in breach of our Constitution. They are manipulating our laws. They're intimidating the persons that are supposed to be providing the checks and balances, and they're doing what they want to do. I mean, Spider gave two examples of what's taking place at RCI, and Tamara and her involvement in Carnival. And then you have the head and the owner of Choice, who is the CFO at St. Lucia Tourism Authority. And St. Lucia Tourism Authority, to what I understand, gave a contract to Choice for jazz.
Yeah, thanks for the correction. I said even St. Lucia's. It's St. Lucia Tourism Authority. Yeah, thanks for that.
Right. And a significant contract on top of that. And then you have this statement by Stanley Lucen, which is being shared by many of the different outlets in St. Lucia. So people need to see this as a threat to our democracy, because what they're doing is making sure that news outlets are no longer objective. And they're peddling the propaganda of the government. And it's very, very sad to see. But your statement could not be any more correct, in that the government is not supposed to be using its resources and its authority in any way to demean, undermine, or discriminate against any other citizen. And yet we're seeing that literally every single day. Anytime that anybody says anything against the government, where they believe that their civil rights or their best interests are not being attended to, then the authorities come down heavily on them. So I just wanted to add that, because I thought it was a very important point that you made, Andrew, and I didn't want it to go by. So
thank you.
Good to be on this show, Spider, and I know there's a lot to talk about.
Yes, but there's some new development in CIP. Can you talk about this, first of all?
Well, there's a couple of new developments that are taking place in CIP. First of all, despite the recognition that the CIP board has not generated an audited report for the last 2 years, which is in breach of their act, we've seen no movement by the minister or the government to make sure that the CIP board fulfills what is in its own act, that it needs to produce an audited report 90 days after the term, and then no later than 90 days after that it's supposed to be placed in the House. And so we're on the verge that 2 years have gone by and 2 reports have not been delivered. Secondly, there has been no clarity on who the chairman of CIP board is. So we know that Lawrence Theophilus was the chairman. We have not received any written confirmations. There's been no statements made as to whether, in fact, he's still there. We've not seen him at any of the press meetings. He's not been responsive to any of the stuff. And from my understanding, he's told people privately that he's resigned. Yet there's been no statements have come out from the government to say that. And there's been no statements to say who, in fact, is the current acting chairman, if there is such a thing, at the CIP board. We see that there is a significant conflict of information with the CEO. The CEO, as we all now know, went to Washington, D.C. To meet with MSR, and it's suggested he also met with law enforcement agents while he was in Washington, D.C. He, in a press statement, said that he went up there to protect the interest of the CIP, which means he went up there to represent the CIP board. The Prime Minister now has come out and said that he went up there on his own and he did not have the permission of anyone to go up there. It's a major conflict. How can you have such a senior officer acting, if the Prime Minister is correct, unilaterally? Because he's not there representing himself. He's there representing the country and the reputation of the country. And I think that without a doubt, that the CEO needs to resign. And there are other allegations with regards to a home being built and all kinds of other things that the government has made no effort to clarify and to satisfy us that there's nothing untoward that's taking place. So those things remain and have been going on for some time now and remain unresolved. The most recent issue that has taken place is that in the court case between MSR, so MSR has, from what I understand, 2 court cases, Spider. They have a court case which is they filed in the U.S., which is the RICO case, which has been filed against 2 former prime ministers and the former CEO of Galaxy and the owner of Galaxy. Sorry, not the former CEO of Galaxy, the former CEO of the St. Kitts CIP, Les Can. Those are in the U.S. that they filed. MSR also apparently have filed what's called a local case in St. Kitts for a judicial review on the prison project. Now, as we have said repeatedly, none of us are here to defend MSR or to represent their cause. That's a matter for the courts to determine. But what we can do is learn from what happened in St. Kitts and to find out if there are similarities that are taking place in St. Lucia. So the case that is being brought to the courts in St. Kitts is the case as it relates to the prison project in St. Kitts. So the government of St. Kitts, through the CIP program, allowed Galaxy to sell 5,500 files, which had a market value of about $1 billion, $175,000 per file, to build a $50 million prison. So according to the information provided by MSR in the court case, and information that now has been confirmed by the current Prime Minister, Prime Minister Drew in St. Kitts, what we found out, that they were allocated 5,500 files. They eventually sold 26,000 passports. So as we know, a file can be for a family. So it turned out that they sold 26,000 passports. The money was collected directly by Galaxy. And according to the court case, that the law, the CIP law act in St. Kitts did not permit Galaxy to collect the money directly. And nor did it allow it to collect the money outside of St. Kitts, which is apparently what took place. So it means that all the applications went directly to Galaxy. The money was paid directly to Galaxy. And what is being suggested, and let me say that again, suggested, is that the due diligence firm that was being used, which was a Chinese firm, that they're alleging that that firm was controlled by Galaxy. So you can understand the danger in all of that. So here it is, Galaxy would have collected the money, received the applications, did the processing, and it's uncertain at this point whether they did the due diligence by themselves or whether that they did it in conjunction with the government of St. Kitts. But the result of all of that is that the prison has not been built and nobody knows where the money is. Now, what's the lesson that we have to learn? The lesson that we have to learn is that the infrastructure program that the government of St. Lucia started is exactly the same way. So despite all of the statements by the government, the only thing they did was have an SI to say that there was an infrastructure program, but the regulations were never published.
And by the way, an
So
SI is a statutory instrument.
Thank you very much, Spider.
Yeah.
And that's what gives legality to any act of government. So we have been asking the question, in this infrastructure program, how does a person become an approved developer? No answers, and there's nothing in the regulations to suggest that. Yet Galaxy has claimed that they are a developer under the infrastructure program. We've asked the question, who collects the money? The government has said nothing. There are no regulations to say who's supposed to collect the money. All we have is a press statement from Galaxy saying that they're collecting the money and they're also collecting the fees. Where is the money going? We've asked the government. Nobody has said anything. There's nothing in the regulations that speaks to where the money goes. So, for instance, in the real estate program, we know the money went into an approved escrow account. We don't know that in the infrastructure program. We have no idea. So here it is that St. Kitts now has found itself where they have given away 26,000 passports that has a market value of over $1 billion US. And the company was supposed to have built a prison, and it's not built a prison. And here it is, we see the exact same thing being done because it's the same players. It's the same galaxy. It's the same idea of an infrastructure. It's the same thing that they get to collect the money. And this is a very dangerous program that's taking place. Now, we know the government of St. Lucia was forced into signing the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement between all of the OECS countries on CIP, to have a harmonized standard. That was supposed to have commenced on July 1st. The SI telling us and legitimizing the new prices, the statutory instrument, only came out on July 9th and made it retroactive to July 1st. So what happens to all the persons who have applied between July 1st and July 9th? Now, if you are to make a comparison, Grenada was able to get its SI out, its statutory instrument out much earlier to give people advanced notice. And there was significant amount of details that went into that whole thing, which everybody understood how the transition process was going to take place. No such thing has happened in St. Lucia. Now, yesterday, in an unrelated matter, Herman Gill Francis made a pronouncement and provided a document yesterday on Newspin. The document was a memo that was written to the Governor General from the Public Service Commission, and it was related specifically to the Commissioner of Police. So what it said was that they were asking that her contract be terminated. Her contract was supposed to go until August 31st, but they wanted it terminated as of March 31st. And the reason for terminating the contract, they said, is because they were going to separate the ministries. So they were going to have a Ministry of National Security, and then Home Affairs and Immigration were going to be separated from that. So the intention was to terminate her contract and then to issue a new contract for her only as the Commissioner of Police. And we assume that somebody else would now be assigned to the other, to Immigration and Home Affairs. Now, the way that the memo was written, it said that they were terminating it and then waiting for approvals before they gave the new contract. So that would suggest that there was a period of time in which,
officially there was no police
period of time
commissioner.
in which there was officially no police commissioner. And no notices had been put out to say that there was a deputy commissioner or an acting commissioner, nothing. There's been no information that has come out from the government to even explain to people what is it the government was going to be doing. Now, given the track record of this government, that every time we turn around, there's more secrets, lies, and propaganda. Every single time that we turn around, secrets, lies, and propaganda. We see that now happening again. So we have to ask ourselves the question, Spider. Why is it?
Oh, call dropped, I think.
Yes, it did.
Yes. If you're listening, well,
You can
I
call
hope
back.
you'll call back, and we'll have him continue.
I'd never heard that one before.
Yeah, well, that's what SLB stands for now. Andre, you talk about abbreviations.
Okay, he's calling back.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, let him go.
Let's see if let's get that call. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yep, sorry about that.
Okay. Could you go ahead, please? Continue.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm asking the question, the persons who are in the immigration office are police officers. So I know at one point, Spider, you used to be the Minister of Public Service.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have police officers outside of the police of national security in another ministry, it means you have to second them.
That's right.
So how do you have police officers reporting to somebody who doesn't have the authority of the commissioner of police?
True.
I mean, I don't even want to begin to understand how that is going to work.
Yeah, these things
Right?
go to the issue of governance, you know.
It goes to issues of governance.
Yeah.
And why is it if you want to separate the ministries, you could not have kept the commissioner of police, where the commissioner of police now would have had two responsibilities: the responsibility for national security and then the responsibility for immigration, even though there are different ministries.
But
So
if I can interrupt you here, you know, now you cannot blame me. I'm very suspicious. Because you see, once information is being withheld from me, that makes me ask myself questions. When there are secrets, that makes me speculate. And so why separate immigration from the police at this time? Now, call me suspicious if you like, because I am. At a time when we have all kinds of issues swirling around about our passports, you know, and our citizenship and so on, I mean, that timing is strange. And I must ask the question, why? Because our government has not told us even that was taking place. Why that decision, and what is the intention? Go ahead, please.
You took the words from my mouth.
Yeah.
Because of what I've seen as a track record of this government, nothing is ever what it appears to be. There always seems to be some ulterior motive behind everything, and then they come and tell you, oh, no, you cannot believe your eyes and don't believe what you're hearing. So you're 100% right. What is with the CIP right now, it's the issuance of passports. So is there a cover-up? Or is there an intention to control it so that nobody knows what's going on? So here it is that we've not gotten audited reports from the CIP board, correct?
That's correct.
We don't know who the chairman of the CIP board is, and we're speaking about governance. So here it is, within the act and the regulations of the CIP, you're supposed to have you shall have your audited reports. The minister now came out and said that there's going to be a new audited firm that's brought in. What's the update on that? Don't you think that this is something that they should be moving very quickly on?
Most definitely.
Expeditiously,
Yeah.
urgently, right, and transparently.
But you see,
and again,
and the thing is not a question of choice. And while we all want information, it's not a question of choice. It is a law. It is the law. They ought to table that audited statement to Parliament within a certain period after the end of the financial year, of the year for CIP. And that has not been done for the previous year, and has not been done yet for last year. Now, in all fairness, they have until October for this year. Okay? That doesn't mean it cannot be done before October, but at least they have until October. But last year, for the year before, 2022, 2023, a whole year has gone by and we have not seen that audited report. What is it that is being hidden? You know?
Correct. And also, let's not be fooled. The audited report is of the CIP board itself.
Right.
What is also required is an audited report of the escrow account.
That's correct.
Now, when we left, there was only like about, 40 files that were sold, very few, right? And the government confirmed when they came into to office that they got the escrow account and they reconciled the account, meaning that they looked at the amount of money that was in the account based on the number of passports that had been sold, right?
Right.
We need to know that there's also going to be an audit of the escrow account. Now, the question is, if in fact Galaxy has been collecting money on the infrastructure program directly, how are you going to audit that? And worse yet, what law is Galaxy really in breach of if there's no regulations? The only entity that's in breach of the law would be the government of St. Lucia, by allowing passports to be issued to people, and that there's no program, there's no regulations to determine how those persons qualified.
Yeah.
Now, again, from a governance perspective, no chairman. Who's the chairman? How is it everybody is sitting by an important program like this that is right now I mean, drowning in controversy.
And you see,
Drowning in controversy.
the Prime Minister is giving us the excuse. First, he said that the court case has nothing to do with St. Lucia. Now he's giving us the excuse that the matter is in the court, so don't ask him any questions about it, and he will not be commenting about it. But the matter is in the courts. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts is making statements on almost on a daily basis as to what exactly his government is doing, what is happening, what the situation is. He owes it to his people to update them. Now, before you continue, let me just say also, when asked questions, if they choose not outrightly not to answer, they will give you some excuse why they cannot answer. Now, I'm still waiting for, there was a question asked of the minister responsible for CIP, and he was asked how many files were given to Galaxy, and he had to get permission. Can you believe that? The minister of our government had to get permission from Galaxy to find out whether he could tell us how many passports were issued to Galaxy. Now, I'm trying to find out whether he has gotten that permission and when he will give us the answer. Because you cannot tell me, I mean, how ridiculous it is. If you don't want to answer, you just do like the Prime Minister and Emma Hippolyte does. Just don't answer, which is wrong because you owe it to us to answer. But you're going to make an extra cheap excuse, insult our intelligence to tell us you must get permission from Galaxy to answer the question? Mm-hmm.
Well, you remember the answers were don't go there and kill it.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And that's none of your business.
None of your business.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the trait of this government, and you're 100% right. So again, let's go back to the memo that Herman Gill gave, read out, where they said that they had to wait for permission. Was the permission from Galaxy? Right? I mean, how can a government defer governance of a country to a third party who is not elected, who has no responsibilities to the people of this country?
And ironically, these are the people who spoke about foreigners and who are like foreigners were taking over, we're giving this and that to foreigners and so on. And right now, they have literally handed over the governance of this country to foreigners. They have literally handed over the assets of this country to foreigners. You know, and we have to just sit back.
100% right. I mean, look at the thing with GPH.
Yeah.
Look at the situation with GPH, where we now have confirmed that the head tax is going to go from $6 from $6.50 to $12. And the breakdown now is going to be that GPH is going to get $11 and the government of St. Lucia is going to get $1. Okay?
Imagine that.
And so we know that we're going to get to about 1 million passengers. So that means that GPH is going to collect $11 million a year, and we're going to collect $1 million a year. And they're going to get to collect that for 40 years. I know it's 30 years with almost an automatic extension for another 10 years. So 40 years. So $440 million just on the head tax. And we know that they're also going to be getting monies from all the vendors and the taxi drivers and the tour operators, etc. We have no idea how much that's going to come to. Yes? And then now there's an SI, another statutory instrument that was published 2 days ago. I think you have it, Spider.
Yes, I do.
Where GPH was given now duty-free concessions to bring all of their building materials, all their office equipment, everything that they want to do business in St. Lucia, they get to bring it in duty-free. And that's after they have had to make no investment with their own money. In fact, the money that they're going to get for the project is going to come from the Bank of St. Lucia. Nobody's told us what they're using as a guarantee. So is it that what the government has done is leased the port of Castries to GPH for $1 a year? Okay? And given them now a 30-year lease, because that would be the collateral that the Bank of St. Lucia would require. So the same way with the halls of justice, right, that's going up, and we know what they're trying to do. They're going to build the equivalent of the Daher Mall with one extra floor. They're building it in Constitution Park. So it's going to be almost 2 stories higher than the church. Right? They lease that property to NH for $1 for the 12 years. And that's the same dollar that they wanted to criticize DSH for. Now, I have news for Richard Frederick, because he made a challenge in the House to say that we never sold any land to DSH. And he said, if I can produce a deed of sale for any land that they bought, that he will then stop having to talk to the parties. Well, I'm waiting for him in the next House sitting.
So you do have a copy of a deed of sale indicating that land was sold to DSH
for $60,000 US. And some of the land was being sold as high as 90,000. And Spider, when you go back to the agreement that we had, right? In the agreement, it said that part of the land will be leased for the horse racing track, and the other portions of land would be purchased at $60,000 US an acre.
Right.
It's in the agreement.
But this doesn't surprise me. This is not the first time that Richard Frederick would be blatantly dishonest. I mean, I remember when very early in the term, when he terminated the contracts for the housing projects in Shock and Talvan, where the contractor was Fresh Start, and he terminated, and his excuse was that they had not received planning approval, DCA approval. Okay, when in fact they had DCA approval, he was aware that he had access to that information, and he came out and giving that as an excuse, and later on only to be proven to be dishonest. Now, so if you telling me now what he said there, of course, can be proven to be otherwise, it does not surprise me, it does not shock me anyway. That is his MO,
Correct.
When he's not telling half truths, he's blatantly telling lies,
And it's amazing that there are people who still believe anything that Richard Frederick says. This is a man, remember, that was convicted in court, for shooting up a house and a water tank and threatening people. This is a man who's caught on video, right, smashing in a policeman's car.
Yeah, but he's
so
but
these
he,
are,
this
is not hearsay.
on other people, Yeah.
Correct.
And this is a guy who said you brought Shine Barrow to St. Lucia, who's a convicted murderer. He said that. Of course, he had to correct it later, but he said so. And how we, the members of the UWB, were following a murderer and all that kind of thing. And this is a man who has as his attaché Dax Norville, who was charged for murder, who was convicted for manslaughter, and who is an escaped convict. As his attaché, his right-hand man. But he is going to be passing judgment on other people and condemning other people falsely at that, as if he is some arbiter of uprightness and justice and morals and so on. I mean, Richard Frederick forgets that he's in a small country, it's a small island where everyone knows everyone. And he cannot come and pontificate and pretend that, he is a moral authority to pass judgment on anybody. He's not. And just because St. Lucians have allowed and tolerated him for so long, that has to come to an end, and we have to start speaking up against those things. Otherwise, those are the kinds who would emerge and rise in this country and make the country what it is, and cause all those negatives that are happening in this country to pass as normal, and that cannot be.
So you and I have covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
But there's one common trait in all of this. Okay? Yeah. And that is the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. The Prime Minister is the one who made a promise to the public of St. Lucia that he was going to stand by transparency. In fact, I think it was on Andre's show that he repeated those things. Yeah. Right? So Andre is in a better place to say whether we were right or not. Mm-hmm. He said he's not going to tolerate any form of corruption. Yeah. And transparency. And if people just make allegations against his ministers, he's going to take it seriously. Well, the fact is that let us look at the issues. GPH. Okay? He said nothing. He went to the House and he lied in front of the House with regards to the Halls of Justice. He said the Halls of Justice was going to cost $144,000. The building construction was going to cost $143, and that $143 million is almost 3 times higher than what the average cost of building a building in St. Lucia is. Okay? And he's not answered that question. Then now, to furnish the building, was another $20 million. And then the financing of the building for the 12 years is $144 million. So the total cost of the building is $290 million, which means we're going to pay a rent of $16 a square foot, not 7, 16. And $16 is twice as high as the highest rent we currently pay. And listen to this, 4 times more than what the Daher Mall rent is. 4 times, because the Daher Mall was at 4. And remember, Minister Hilaire said that the Daher Mall is the most expensive rent that we have in St. Lucia. Okay, you have the situation with NLA, where the Finance Act was bypassed, and to allow NLA to get the money and not be accountable for procurement. Up to today, $80 million in contracts have been issued.
The Minister of Sports, who is directly responsible for the works that were done, cannot tell you who is the contractor up to now.
Right. And the person I hold accountable is the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Because the Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance, owes us an explanation, and to ensure us at all times that the law is being followed.
And let's not forget that the Prime Minister imposed upon us a 2.5% levy. That's a tax. And he said to us that it's because he wanted to raise money for health and security, only to find out that that was a lie, you know.
Correct.
And so this is just the MO of this current government, operating procedures for the St. Lucia Labour Party, you know.
And again, all the roads lead back to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the one that's facilitating Ernest Hilaire. The Prime Minister is the one who's facilitating Richard Frederick, who's in his own ministry. The Prime Minister is the one who's facilitating what's going on with the NLA. All of these things, the Prime Minister is facilitating. Now,
and
you know what's also
we see some double standards as well from the Prime Minister, because when it was alleged that the former President of the Senate, Stanley Felix, was accused of, what did they accuse him of? Perverting the cause of justice.
Correct.
And he was immediately dismissed as senator. Now, I'm not quarreling with that. If you're strict on principle, because you're guilty of that, sir. You had a couple of your ministers, the minute they were accused of certain things, you dismissed them. And I'm saying, in a civilized world, that is what is expected. Go and clear your name, and if I'm satisfied and I wish to, I can bring you back. But while those allegations are swirling around you, go and clear your name. You cannot encumber the organization. Stanley Felix, to his credit, has been cleared. It is up to the Prime Minister whether he wants to bring him back as Senate President or not. That's not for me to decide. However, Ernest Hilaire, we are being told, has already been named as a co-conspirator and will be named as a co-defendant in a case concerning the CIP, which he is responsible for, he is heading. He has not asked him to at least go and leave or vacate your position while you deal with the matter. The CEO, likewise, is a defendant. You have not asked him, you're not send him home until the matter is cleared. That is double standard. You know, and we are demanding that those people, because if you're going to carry out any investigation, they cannot be in the way. Okay? They cannot be in the way to prejudice that investigation. So we are calling on the Prime Minister again to ensure that those people are sent home. You know?
Absolutely. And the thing is that this Prime Minister continues to act with politics as being the priority, not the people. Politics. And you know, it must be very embarrassing for the other members of the Labour Party to know that Ernest Hilaire came in and has now literally taken control of all of the government. Right? So he got Ministry of Investment, the Ministry of Tourism, and CIP, and he just got NCA recently.
Culture.
But that's all, and culture, right? And then also let's look at the tentacles. His brother is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Economic Development. Now, I say that the other people must be embarrassed because it means that literally every decision and every revenue that's being generated in the country has to go through Ernest. And what it shows is either that there is so much level of incompetency. Because let's think for a moment, okay, Spider? So Ernest has all of those ministries. and is literally by many people running the country. Then now you bring in Stephenson King as the Minister of Infrastructure and the Minister of Labor, right?
Yeah.
And then you bring Richard Fedrick in, and you give him housing. So what are you telling me? All these other people who went out and campaigned don't have the capacity? And maybe the Prime Minister knew what he was doing, because we see what's happening in education. We see what's happening in health, and what's happening in some of the other ministries. Look at agriculture. Right? So maybe the Prime Minister is right, and that the only person that has the capacity to run the country is Ernest, Richard, and Steve.
You know, leader of the opposition, Andre was making a point earlier. You know, already we has got some good licks on those fellas as politicians. He was making the point earlier about, you know, the victimization and all of those things. Now, honestly, I want to put you on the spot, because you are going to be you are the leader of a major political party, and you can possibly become Prime Minister of this country again. What is your personal position as far as nepotism and victimization is concerned? I want you to, because you see, I was there defending your party. You are the leader. I want to hear it from you. I'm sure Andre was itching to ask you that question as well. Let me hear your position to the public.
I don't believe in revenge, and I don't believe in victimization. And I could tell you, Spider, it was very difficult at times, because you pointed out that there were persons that were in the government that you know that were being political, and even with the knowledge of that, right, I still would not act on it. And I mean, I can go through so many examples of where people wanted me to do certain things to victimize people. I refuse to do that. Now, I think that there has to be greater clarity. I mean, let me give you an example. The national unions movement, the President Monroe gave a speech and spoke about the Labour Party coming from the bosom of the Labour movement. Okay?
Yeah, I remember that.
And went as far as to say that the Labour Party was their party. Now, how does that put, if I come back in as Prime Minister and I'm now to sit down and negotiate with the unions, am I negotiating with the unions, or am I negotiating with the
an arm of the Labour Party?
Okay, now,
Yeah.
this is again where I think there needs to be a significant review of all of these organizations and really what their intent is. How is it, and I'm gonna say something out here publicly. There's always been an antagonistic relationship. An antagonistic relationship means that there's always been a relationship that has friction in it between the Prime Minister's office and National Trust, whether Sir John was there, whoever is there. Because, you know, a Prime Minister wants to develop the country, and the National Trust has their conservation issues in mind. Okay? I remember when the decision was made to go ahead and demolish the old prison custody suites. And it went to court. Okay? And it was discovered in court that the National Trust has the ability to declare buildings as historical buildings. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a special authority given to them. And it means any building that's determined to be a historical building, you must first seek the permission of the National Trust, even before you get planning approval. It was found out that the custody suites was never made a historical building. Okay? Now, I believe to our detriment, the Attorney General at the time did not want to embarrass the National Trust. So what we did is we went and had an agreement with National Trust to say, look, notwithstanding everything that's going on, we will review the situation with the custody suites, and we'll see if in fact we can salvage it or how we can accommodate the building. But at the last paragraph it said, government maintains its right to do what it wants to do, because it never didn't have that right. After we went in and we had the engineers go through, there was no way of saving the custody suites. And so it was demolished, but it was the right of the government to do that. But National Trust has continuously tried to make it out to believe that they had some authority over that issue, where the persons who were delinquent, if in fact it should have been a historical site, is them. Now the question is, who makes up these organizations? So I want to ask the question today. Information that has reached me shows that the mangrove that is down by Hummingbird Beach, Canals Beach, is being destroyed. And that was an area that was very well dealt with in the economic and social impact, the environmental impact study that was done, as to how that should be preserved. How come we've not heard anything from the National Trust? How come we're not hearing anything from the National Trust as it pertains to the possibility of the halls of justice being built and all of the historical buildings that are in the vicinity, and to know that they're not going to be damaged? Why are we not hearing that you're now going to have a building that's going to become the centerpiece of St. Lucia, that is, if anything could be described as a box, that building could be described as a box? In the middle of your castries, your historical city. So where is their voice?
Well,
okay, so I want to make it very clear. When it came to advertising, everybody got their fair share of advertising. Even those entities that were blasting us every day, okay? If in fact they were doing something illegal, we had to deal with them in the courts, not by using government's purses, the taxpayers' purses, to discriminate against them or to intimidate them.
Well, I'm happy you made that declaration here publicly, because it's important that our people, understand that, and that you be held to that when you become Prime Minister.
Okay.
Which I'm hoping.
Can I have a follow-up question, Mr. Opposition Leader? Let me just ask you. You said that people wanted you to victimize certain individuals, but you refused. So yes. I say bravo to you, bravo to you. The question is, are those people who came to you asking you to victimize certain individuals members of your party? And if they were members of your party now doing that, how would you, right, moving forward, ensure that you put a cap on that, where, yes, it's true, you could refuse, but the members of your party may not be refusing. They may just go ahead and victimize somebody when people come to them to ask them to victimize. So if and when you win the next election, how will you protect the party in general from that kind of behavior, if that is so?
So we don't have to wait for the next general election to understand that and to appreciate what I would do. So there were persons who were not members of my party, and there were persons who were members of my party. And I want to trigger Spider's memory. I remember a convention that we had, Spider, and it was actually in Marigot. Mm-hmm. And a person of our party got up and spoke about how it's our time and we should be doing more things to empower our own people and everything else. And I ended up speaking after the person and spent almost an hour and a half dissuading our party that we need to move in that direction. Mm-hmm. St. Lucia is too broke. Okay? We're running deficits. That we must put our country first. If our country is not in a strong enough position to provide the resources that we all need, we're in trouble. And there's no way that if you're going to discriminate against a certain segment of your population, that you can achieve that. And there will never be rest in your country. But at the same time, there has to be a mechanism that when you're in government and people are just deliberately trying to sabotage your government, I can give you so many examples. I mean, the example of the Range Rover is a classic example. Because with the Range Rover, when it was discovered that the Range Rover came into St. Lucia and that there were documents to show that the Range Rover that was owned by Ernest Hilaire was registered in the name of the state, okay? It was the Director of Finance who wrote to Customs. All Customs was supposed to do was confirm that the documents that the Director of Finance was given were authentic, meaning that the registration of the vehicle in England was in the name of the High Commission, confirmed that the invoice was in the name of the High Commission, and confirmed that the British government gave the incentives because it was owned by the government of St. Lucia. And it took customs over 5 years, and they never did it. Never. And so it was the Director of Finance who then sent the documents to the Attorney General and to the DPP, because all of the information now had been validated by the police. So when Richard Frederick talks about that he went to London and he saw people on a plane and they had gone there to do an investigation, that was the police who went up to England, not Alan Chastney. The government of St. Lucia's authorities, agents, are the ones who went and did that and confirmed that that was true. So the court case now that was taking place was when the DPP instructed Customs to require Ernest Hilaire to provide in the court documentation to show how is it the car became registered in the name of the state and how did it become unregistered in the name of the state. Okay, this new government comes in, changes the controller of Customs, and the Attorney General, who used to be the lawyer for Ernest Hilaire, withdraws the case. And we have a situation now where two courts, the High Court and the Court of Appeal, have denied our request for there to be a judicial review. What's a judicial review? Was to put people now on to determine why were these decisions made. So don't tell me or ever try to convince me they're not actors within the civil service and in civil society that hold their loyalty to their party higher than they hold their loyalty to their country.
So,
now, not everybody is the same way, Andre.
Yeah. Let me just ask you just a follow-up question. And I want to thank you for being honest and saying that there were people within your party asking you to victimize certain individuals. So I'm going to say, bravo to you for being honest with us as far as that is concerned. However, these individuals are still around. When I say still around, meaning they could be, having positions of authority and so on. What I'm asking is, you wouldn't do it because that's what you said already. You refuse and you give examples. How, if you win the next election, how will you ensure that you keep these individuals in check? For example, you have maybe a radio station, as we spoke about this morning, who has been denied their fair share of advertising for the Jazz Festival, for Carnival, etc., right? But that doesn't maybe fall under your purview. So how do you manage that situation where you have a minister who has that power, right? And maybe doing those things unbeknownst to you. So what mechanisms, can you put in place if you win the next election to ensure that people are not treated that way?
So there's a couple of things. We have to strengthen the independent checks and balances within our government system. Okay? They are grossly deficient. One of the things that we did, Andre, when we first came into government, and I'm very proud of the fact that we were the first government in the world, the entire world, to do this, is we required every single minister, all the permanent secretaries, all the CEOs, and all the chairmen of the statutory bodies to do what's called a governance training program. So it was a 3-day training program to explain to you what your responsibilities are when it comes to the governance of a country. Do you remember that,
yes,
Spider?
I do. Very early in the day, yeah.
Right? And what did we say? Not only did you have to take it, you had to pass the exam.
Yeah.
And it was a tough exam. And the purpose of passing the exam is that we knew on that particular day, you understood what governance meant. And so your boards, the independence of the civil service, all of these things have to be upheld. But we do have a problem, Andre. So I may say, yes, there were people in my party that wanted to put pressure on me to do things a certain way, but I'm proud of the fact that I'm still here as the leader of the party. And that the vast majority of people in the United Workers' Party believe in putting the country first. Believe that responsibility of the government is to create a viable country and to create the opportunity that you can use your own skill sets to succeed. So one of the things, Andrew, I think that needs to change is the publication of information. I think that there should be more information provided to the general public as to how government is spending its money. And even when we go through the budget process, you know, I lamented so many times that I was given this speech to read, particularly during the estimates, and Spider he knows this all too well, right? That you're reading these things and it is about numbers of going up and down. 99% of the solutions don't have an appreciation for what we're saying. It's an important speech for the people who are business people and financiers within the country, and I think a separate speech could be done for that. But I think that our budget process needs to be broken down in a much more simplified way, and one in which the people could hold the government much more accountable to what we're doing. But that also applies to the civil servants. So, for instance, I'm the chairman of what's called the Public Accounts Committee. And many people believe that Public Accounts Committee's responsibility is to go after corrupt politicians. And the answer is no, that's not true. Politicians, very difficult to prove politicians as being corrupt unless you find them actually in the act of getting money illegally. The persons that sign the documents are the civil servants. And the Public Accounts Committee only does a review of once a ministry or a statutory body has been audited. And our job as the Public Accounts Committee is to make sure that the audit was done fairly, thoroughly, and that the recommendations that were being made, that were being followed up. But there are too many entities that we have in government that are supposed to do the job of checks and balances, and they're not doing it. This is why I'm not here crying from, I mean, as Spider says, I'm not here crying for myself. You know, when a judge said and recused himself from our cases because of political interference, and the judge was then transferred to another jurisdiction, and nobody in society wants to say anything, they don't understand. It's not Alan Chasney. If in fact that we see the influence, the impartiality, of our judicial system, then where do we go? It's supposed to be the backbone. That's why I have to say to you that I am disappointed that the High Court and the Court of Appeals denied our request for a judicial review on the Range Rover case. Because it's paramount. How else are public servants going to be held accountable? When Ernest Hilaire did that, he was the High Commissioner of St. Lucia. Who gave him as permission as the High Commissioner to put the car that he paid for in the name of the state? And then once it went into the name of the state, who gave him permission to put it back into his name? And the fact is, it was never put back in its name. And that was the job of customs. Customs are the persons who are at the point of entry, who have a requirement to check the documents. You cannot come at this stage, now that you know that the car was registered in the UK in the name of the High Commission, and use a bill of lading. A bill of lading only tells you the item was in the container. It doesn't tell you the proof of it. And so therefore, if in fact the current controller of customs is wanting to use that as an excuse, the only ways that we have of making sure that public servants are doing their job is through the judicial system. It's not me as the Prime Minister to take it out on them. But it's important that everybody is going to be held accountable. And the temptation, Andrew, for political parties to want to extract justice is when injustice is done to them in opposition or at any other time. And that's just human nature. But I have to say to you, I am very happy to be a member of the United Workers' Party, and where the vast majority of the people in the party believe in good governance, believe in developing a country for everyone. I can tell you, I don't believe the vast majority of United Workers' Party's people would appreciate a government that discriminates against people, their own neighbors and sometimes their own family members. That's not what this is all about.
Well, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, we are running out of time. I mean, it was a really interesting discussion. We went even beyond some of the topics I anticipated, and that was very good. I hope that this information serves our listeners well. I thank you for taking the time to talk to us, and it was very enlightening, I must say. And we look forward to having you on Meet the Opposition in the future again. And I want to wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you, Spider. And again, I just want to say that this is a government that I believe has lost the legitimacy to continue governing this country. I think this is a government that its secrets, lies, and propaganda is what its mainstay is, and that this is working to the detriment of all of us. And we will all pay a very heavy price if we don't come together to hold this government more accountable.
Right. The SLP government, the government of secret lies and propaganda. And, yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, and all the best to you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
As he was talking, I just, my mind flashed back on a statement made by the Honorable Ernest Hilaire very early in the day. And that was a chilling statement, I must say, when he said that, in my 5 years in opposition, those he deemed that came after him, I'm in a position now in government to deal with them. And I'm going to use my power now that I'm in office to deal with them. I mean, that is a very chilling statement, of vindictiveness, of a person who intends to go after people and so on. And we are seeing in the MO that he's living true to his word. And that is also intended to intimidate. Because in case you, Andre, intend to speak out or say something, send an indirect message to you from very early that I will deal with you. I'll use my position, I'll use my office to deal with you. We cannot have that, in a democracy. We cannot have that as, a standard mode of operation for a government. And so, Andre, I think we have, run out of time?
No. You have about 20 minutes left.
You have 20 minutes left, okay.
Yes.
So, I mean...
You want to give out those numbers again?
Yes. Yeah. The numbers are, the WhatsApp number is 287-0971. And let me repeat, 287-0971. And the direct line is 572-9710. Once again, 572-9710. So that was very interesting, and he touched on a number of issues. I wanted to actually hear from Gil Francis, but the Leader of the Opposition actually touched on the subject and so on. And I wanted to take this opportunity during this program, Andre, to send out a few messages of congratulations. Now, Andre, I left school a long time ago, secondary school. I mean, according to the people, I left secondary school since 19 how long? And
since Noah was a boy.
And when I left school, that's when CXC had just come in. Oh. So I actually did both GC and CXC, because GC was being phased out, CXC was coming in.
And you have a caller, by the way. Sorry to disturb you.
Yes, okay.
You want to hold your thoughts?
Let's give priority to our caller.
Okay, all right. Hello there, good morning.
Good morning, Andre. Good morning, Spider.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Show. Great contribution from the Leader of the Opposition. Spider, I want to go with the CIP.
Yes, let me hear you.
Concerning Ernest Hilaire. I want to know what it will take St. Lucian to call out Ernest Hilaire. How long will St. Lucians remain mute and allow Ernest Hilaire to bring down the reputation of our country? Ernest Hilaire started this passport issuing thing to foreigners, billionaires, since how many years ago? And Mr. Chastney mentioned something about St. Kitts, where they had to build prisons and they didn't get the monies and whatever. Ernest Hilaire, how many years ago did the very same thing to St. Lucia when he was High Commissioner in England, representing St. Lucia? We know, we heard it on Timothy Polio's show, this man gave Wali Jafali 4 passports. It was a whole magical show that happened with these 4 passports. This same Ernest Hilaire told St. Lucians that we were supposed to get a diabetic center for these 4 passports. And up to a day like today, Spider, where is the diabetic center? Where is the money for the diabetic center? Where is it?
Well, I mean, true to form, now that you are talking about CIP, You were promised a housing project. So I don't know if you want to hold your breath and see if that one will come, That's just the MOA.
You see that the housing project, that what they were trying to do to St. Lucia in the dark, God uncovered it for everybody to see. The route they were trying to go to mislead the people and to squander the resources of our country, God put a stop to it. He exposed the darkness. And St. Lucians need to stand up against the injustice that Ernest Hilaire have been doing to St. Lucia for the past how many years? Connect the dots. About 20 years ago, I can remember this talk show, and look, now we have the video circulating again from Timothy Polio when he was on how they call them, Radio Caribbean. That same Ernest Hilaire now is in government, and we still getting look at what he is doing. Worse than when he started with Wali Jafali. And it's okay with St. Lucians. It's okay.
Well, I don't think
to bring down our reputation, St. Lucians.
Well, I don't think it's okay with St. Lucians. St. Lucians are just afraid of speaking up, but I think we are beginning to muster the courage now to take a stand, because you cannot be afraid of what is already happening to you. And so St. Lucians are prepared to take a stand, and hoping and calling on the United Workers' Party as the main opposition to lead the charge in ensuring that they galvanize the voices and the support of St. Lucians to stand up against those ills that are affecting our country.
And before I hang up, I want to ask Philip Pierre if that's what he had in his mind to take St. Lucia. Is that where he had St. Lucians and St. Lucia to bring St. Lucia reputation down to the gutter just to say you are Prime Minister? Philip Pierre, I am speaking to you this morning. We love our country more than you. You're not ready. You said you were the most ready to allow corruption in our country. Stevenson King, I always said from day one, you did not come out of UWP by yourself. It was my God who plucked you out, because he appointed a manservant to do the work of St. Lucia for him. But you were the pebble in his shoes. So God plucked you out, and you will go. And I am calling on St. Lucians to take a stand against the corruption that is going on in this country today. Let us save the future of our country. Let us save the future by now. St. Lucians should have realized by now that Philip Pierre and his administration, when they were in opposition, everything they did was a lie. They knew that Mr. Chasney was going to raise the standard of living of St. Lucia. They knew the poor people would have gotten a break to survive in this country after where Kenny Anthony put us. And they came together. That was the plan. That was the plan, St. Lucia. The plan was for SLP to collect money and to eat, because they were not eating. So they came together and they put the lives of Mr. Chasney out. And today, in less than 3 years, look at what God has been showing us. So wake up, rally with the United Workers' Party. We're not doing it for politics. We're doing it for the future of our country. And we need to step.
Okay. I think the call dropped.
Yeah.
It's so much power from her voice.
Passionate caller.
But Mr. Montoute, just going back to the statement you quoted Dr. Hilaire as saying earlier, are you sure he said that? Because
Yes, he did.
something like that would have been all over the place. I mean, a politician directly saying he's going to go after people.
I'll send you the clip of it. He actually said that, what he was put through during his time in 5 years in opposition. Right now he's in government, and he can, deal with those people, and he is going to use his position in government to drive that agenda. He said so.
Wow.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but in essence, that's what he said, And I will get the clip and send it to you.
Yeah.
And I listened to that and I said, wow, what venom. That's chilling, to come from a government minister, not just thinking that, but to say it publicly. But I think the intention in saying it publicly was to intimidate, so that he'll say,
You sure he didn't mean that he could do it if he wanted
no,
to?
That's not what he meant. He said what he meant. Ernest is a clever person, and he said exactly what he meant. And
I'd love to hear that clip.
I will send it to you.
Please, yes, we have a call.
Yeah.
Thanks for holding. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew, and good morning to the Public Relations Officer, my friend Lenard Spider Montoute. How are you
Good
guys
morning,
doing?
sir. Good
You're
morning.
well.
This is the PA Public Relations Officer of the New York Flubber Caucus. If you guys would permit me to
Congratulations,
make
by the way, on your
announcements.
appointment.
Thank you very much. I would love to make two quick announcements, if you guys would permit me,
Right.
to inform the general body and prospective members that the New York Flubber Caucus, the newly elected executive, is having its first general meeting on Saturday, July 20th, 2024 at 5 p.m. And the venue for the meeting is at 154 Utica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11213, and is between Prospect Place and St. Mark's. So we're encouraging all United Workers Party supporters and prospective members in New York and its environs to come to this all-important first general meeting of the newly elected New York Flubber Caucus. At that meeting, there'll be lots to discuss, and also the way forward, there'll be membership forms, persons who are interested to become a member. And I think every right-thinking St. Lucian, whether you're UWP or no P, but you want to see a better St. Lucia, and as you know, Spider, my good friend, and Andre, St. Lucia is not in a good place, and our country is descending to the lowest common denominator. Our country is in a mess. So there should not be any choice in the matter of wanting to join the New York Flubber Caucus. So there'll be membership forms that you can come become an official member of the New York Flubber Caucus. And once again, the meeting is next Saturday, July 20th, 2024 at 5 p.m. And the venue of the meeting is at 154 Utica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, zip code 11213, and it's between Prospect Place and St. Mark's. And the next quick announcement, I know other callers want to call, is that the New York Flubber Caucus, we're having the biggest summer barbecue in Brooklyn, New York, and it's on Saturday, August the 3rd. And that happens to be yours truly, my birthday. So we're having a grand celebration, and the venue for the barbecue is at 1418 Rochester. So we're encouraging all supporters in New York and its environs to come and support the New York Flubber Caucus at our biggest summer barbecue, the biggest summer barbecue ever in Brooklyn, New York. And let me just give you the address for the barbecue again, if you guys would permit me quickly.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to get the exact address. It's 1418 Park Place between Utica and Rochester. And it's, like I said, indicated it's on August the 3rd. That's a Saturday. It starts at 1 p.m. onwards. So there'll be lots on the grill, chicken, pork, what have you. Lots of entertainment, lots of surprises. And we're urging all supporters in New York City to come to this biggest summer barbecue that will be held in Brooklyn, New York. Lastly, I just want to make a quick comment, and I will end here, that brother Andre, do not be surprised that this government will not give you any ads, whether it's for jazz, whether it's for carnival. It's the DNA of the St. Lucia Labour Party to victimize people. The mere fact that you're hosting the Meet the Opposition show at your radio station, in their sick mind, those government ministers, they will victimize you, Andrew and Tony, because they believe they would already label you as a UWP. So don't expect anything. Don't expect any ads or for jazz.
But they have the option of having a program here as well.
Exactly.
But they will not come. They will not come. They would rather go to those safe SLP Zafez Zodi shows to promote the propaganda. And like you said, Honorable Montoute, I will say honorable because you're an honorable man. The abbreviation for the St. Lucia Labour Party is secret lies and propaganda. So they will go there. They will not come on Andrew and face the fire. They will not come to Timothy Polio's newspaper and face the fire. They will go to those Zafes or these shows where they get where the propaganda and the lies will continue. So don't even entertain that thought, Andrew, that you'll see Philip here coming to your radio station and facing them. Don't even contemplate that thought. But it's sad how our country has gotten, where people cannot express themselves freely. This government of the Labour Party continues to victimize people. The country's in a mess. No health care. If you go to the hospital, it's a nightmare. No beds, no medication. You know, inflation is wreaking havoc on St. Lucians. When St. Lucians go to the supermarket, they have to be picking and choosing what grocery items to buy. It's just pure hardship and suffering. And this is why we in the diaspora, though we don't reside in St. Lucia, we are paying close attention. We are contributing to our country because we want to see good governance. We want to see a change. Have a blessed day, my brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
If I can quickly,
Sure.
Andre, I was saying that I wanted to, congratulate our top achievers in the what used to be called Common Entrance Exam. Now I am told it is called the CPEA, the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment.
Why are you saying you were told?
Well, that's what it's called. Now, I mean, all those abbreviations sometimes get to me. And, the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment Examination, which is the equivalent of what was Common Entrance. And, there are some students I understood who performed outstandingly. I want to congratulate the top performers. I also want to congratulate all of those who did, because, Andre, you and I have our little stresses in life and so on. You know how much stress that is for those students, those children who have to go through that.
Yes.
I mean, and the parents as well go through quite a bit of stress, wanting to ensure that the children do well and so on. I want to congratulate those parents who continue to support their children. Education is important, and we have to be with them and behind them. I also want to congratulate the unsung heroes, the teachers, who Andre, we have 1 or 2 children at home and we can't deal with them. And those teachers have to put up with sometimes over 30 of them in one class and so on. And they do their best to mentor, to be mother, to be teacher, to be everything, to coach and everything to those children. So, hats off to the teachers who are continuing to do a good job. And also, the CSEC, which used to be CXC in my day, Andre, the results are not out as yet. But I want to wish all of the students who did that exam all the best. I know when we get nostalgic and try to say our days were the best days and so on, but when I had the kind of results those students now are having, the number of subjects and the A's and so on, it tells me that, there is hope for us as a country. And, those students are doing very well.
You have a call, by the way.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks for holding. Good morning.
Mr. Andrew Paul.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. I love to talk about my party.
Oh, by the way, you have to say good morning to the host of the show, Mr. Montoute.
Yeah, Mr. Spider Montoute.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
If it was Nancy, you'd see her.
Exactly.
Let me help, please. I literally have a problem with my party. Okay? I love to see my party doing good. And I have a serious problem if not seeing my Flubbo people on the ground. I have a problem if Flubbo's hiding behind phones and social medias. We have a guy in Central Castries. We all want him out, of course, Mr. Spider.
Well, you in Central Castries have to make that decision.
Yeah, I always making a decision.
Yeah.
I always making a decision. And I stand by my decision too.
Well, let me just say I accept that criticism, and I'm hoping that many of my people are listening, and I will pass on the information. However, let me just say this to you. You, as a member, have a major role to play, because the executive of the United Workers' Party, I come from Grosley, so let me speak about Grosley, cannot come to Grosley to do for us what it is we need to do. We have to organize ourselves, choose our candidate, get on the ground and do the work that has to be done. So, very often we just look to the executive to do everything, but we all have to play our part. And so, like you said, we cannot only use the phone and social media, but it is a vital, very important role because you reach out to many people at the same time. But we have to also touch the flesh, so to speak, get on the ground and meet the people. And I accept your criticism, I accept your observation, but at the same time, I'm recruiting you to get involved in ensuring that we do it.
Yeah, I'm always there.
Okay, good.
Okay, you have another call?
Yeah.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I don't know if I'm going to be cut off or anything like that.
You will not be cut off.
Okay. No. I like to say I listen carefully and I hear your talk, I hear your supporters and callers go. And under any government there will be trials, there will be problems. No government is perfect. No government is perfect. But sometimes listening to some of what you said, it's like when like listening to some of the callers, it's like we were in heaven. Everything was perfect. We were in paradise. And now we are in total hell, chaos, and all sorts of things. Under both governments are crimes. Under both governments there are unemployment. Under both there are challenges in all governments. But for people to come on making people believe that it's total hell, we are suffering, all kinds of things are happening. Deep down, if we call ourselves God-fearing and God, we have to be honest with ourselves and stop pushing those, because it's what causes all the hate and division that we have in this country. Because some of y'all, as a politician, you'll say things when you're out of power, when you're coming power, it's another thing. Look at caregiver programs. Why can't my people have? Your people had before. And these are the kind of things you're playing, the games you'll play. And that should not be. It's y'all are the one that's causing all the division and the hatred. CPA, you just, the commandant, this was before even the people's time. And most times the people who call and scream and cry, they are beneficiaries. Beneficiaries, people that just... Hello, all my life, if I vote, I don't vote government because I want to achieve.
Caller, before you go on, could you repeat your point about the CPEA?
The thing, because Dr. Gail Rigobert, she was the one who actually started it.
So?
Yeah, no, I hear you say the new CP, you talk about that. So
I was just telling Andre how old school I am, how outdated I am, that I don't even know the name of the thing now. I had to actually read it. And Andre was there laughing at me. I mean, I admitted that I went to school in 19 how long, and in those days it was common interest. I was not criticizing anyone. If anything, I was just making a point about how I'm not up to date as such with new trends and so on. I wasn't criticizing anyone. So you see all the hell and the heaven you're talking about it. That's your perception, your interpretation. Nobody has said anything like that,
No, you don't have to say it for people to believe it, because you listen to callers and they say, right now people are suffering, they are dying, people are hungry.
And that's not true.
And these are all, how can you, do you go into every household to know if everybody is hungry and dying and suffering?
But who said everybody is hungry and dying and suffering?
But people are hungry, people are starving, people are not getting...
Who said, who did you hear say all of this saying that?
But you should know you have your people are saying that. You should not saying that. But a lot of people that are doing that, it's people that their whole life depends on waiting on a government or a party to give them little contracts, to give them this, because that's all they're based on. They don't even try to succeed on their own. Everything is about, I want you there because with you I get what I want. With you there I get contracts. With you I get everything.
Well, you should speak on your own behalf, because I don't know anybody has called to say anything like what you're saying there.
You tell them, but people always saying it. They just call and say it.
Okay, well, that's not what we are saying here.
No, but it is said, and you'll have to admit those things. Sometimes as politicians, don't want
you have to admit the realities too.
You don't want to take things, but you all are the one that's causing the...
But excuse me, caller. But in all fairness, all the points that you're making, they're valid points. But in all fairness to Mr. Montoute, he hasn't mentioned any of those issues for the morning. He hasn't mentioned them.
You say he doesn't mention it, but if they mention it other places and they do mention it.
Yeah, but that is unfair to attribute those comments to him, because the show is his show.
Yeah, because if you now, what I'm trying to say, sometimes I listen. I am one person that never ever have to ever go to any politician, and ask for anything, because I don't believe in going and ask for people. I do my duties, which is when time comes to vote. I don't believe in coming and look for people. I want this, I want that. That's not who I am. And if a lot of people were like that and not depending to always grab and get what they can, it would have been better. But it's what I don't like is this constant lie sometimes. You hear things, you hear it. It's on the thing.
Caller,
but when you ask questions,
can I ask something of you, caller?
Said so.
Can I ask something of you? I am not aware that I have told any lie. If there has been any lie that I have told, I would like you to point it out for me, please. Point it out.
Okay, when during the how they call that thing, when you are just giving to power the caregivers program and the thing, when people are just dropped, you have to admit that people from the NICE program, from all of this were dropped, and you were on a talk show, Timothy, and you said 95% or whatever of the people that were working
and that was a fact.
From the previous government.
That was a fact. The workers were handpicked by the representatives. That's a fact.
So you're going to take all your people now and just...
That's not true.
And this, but that's what you say. But most of
the Labour Party made you believe that I terminated the people. Hold on, can you let me finish? The Labour Party made you believe that I terminated the workers because they were Labour supporters, whereas in fact their contract. Can you let me finish, please? Whereas the contract came to an end. I didn't terminate anybody. Okay.
But you don't have to admit. Most times you're the drop.
Well, you want me to admit what is not true?
I say y'all. When I say y'all, I mean y'all politicians.
No, don't just paint everybody with the same brush. There are different politicians.
You have to admit.
There are different politicians. Because there are people killing people in St. Lucia. I can look at you as a St. Lucian and say, you're all killing people, and that would not be a fair statement.
Okay, so it's already time to end the show. Sorry, caller. It's already past 11. But Mr. Montoute, just let me use the opportunity to clear the air on this matter, because we've been hearing this for a long time.
Go ahead.
That you made a certain statement concerning the workers at the time. Was that, what's the program called again?
The Caregivers.
The Caregivers.
Program.
Yeah, yes.
The Caregivers program. The parliamentarians then handpicked their people. Okay? And Emma Hippolyte at a meeting at the Grosile Secondary School actually said that, referred to them as my people, okay? Which is further evidence that she acknowledged that they were Labour Party supporters. Those people were handpicked by the representatives and appointed to the Caregivers program for a period of time. When I came in, they served their period of time. Their period of time came to an end. Okay, so the contract was over. Bear in mind.
So these were definitive supporters of the Labour Party who, as you said, handpicked.
Yes.
For those positions.
That's correct.
Yes.
Now, after the program came to an end, okay, and that was also the intention of the SLP, a stated intention that some people will get an opportunity. Then another batch will be. That was a stated intention. So when the program came to an end,
and by the way, did that batch include those on the opposite side, or batch meaning for only on their side?
Well, if they were in office at the time, I mean, God knows what they would have done. They probably could continue the practice. Okay. I decided that was a good program. Unlike what some politicians do, because they're not the one who started, they terminate it. I figured that was a good program, and I would continue the program. And we hired a new batch of workers. But that batch also included some of the previous workers. Okay, I was not instrumental in selecting people in other constituencies, though as the minister responsible overall. Okay, the SSDF was the organization supervising that program. They got their names through the various communities. I was not a part of that. I was the representative for Grosile. Okay, and as people submitted their names, I submitted it to the SSDF, and that included, I can tell you, that included Labour Party supporters. Okay, some of whom were still in the program up to now. And so, the Labour Party come with their propaganda and just make allegations, and sometimes we don't respond to it, and it passes as well. Just as at some point, the Prime Minister said he didn't fire anyone, the contract came to an end. That was exactly the case there. The contract came to an end. I didn't fire anybody. So to perpetuate that, at the time I ignored those things, but right now I'm responding to it because I recognize That is the MO of the Labour Party, to just float those things out there. You do not deny it, and it passes as fact. You know?
Okay.
And when people talk about lies, Andre, I take strong objection to it. If you're going to tell me the lie that I tell, don't call me a liar. You know, because I make a point to tell you that I don't know about something if I don't, and I will tell you this is my opinion. Okay, I'll tell you this light here is green, Andre. That's my opinion. But I probably didn't see the light or anything like that. But I will not willfully come here, see the light is red, and tell you it is a different color. Okay, I don't do that. Not for votes, not for anything. I've made statements that has cost me support, that's cost me vote, but it was the truth. Okay, and that's how I operate.
Okay, thanks for clearing the air on this particular matter.
Yes.
So we have to wrap up.
We have to wrap up now. Andre, again, it is always a pleasure, and there's never enough time, you know, and I'm hoping that, you know, if Nancy is at all encumbered and cannot make it to the program, that she'll remember me, because I'm enjoying her program maybe a little too much now. You know? But I want to thank all our callers. I want to thank our listeners, ask them to continue listening, as we'll be back on for the after Jump Up edition of Meet the Opposition after Carnival. But let me, before I go, Andre, people are trying to make me out to be an enemy of the Calypsonians. Let me congratulate all the winners so far. Ricky T, who is the Power Soca Monarch, Sly, who is the Groovy Soca Monarch, and let me wish all the finalists in the Calypso Finals competition all the best, including my partner, Herb Black.
Don't worry. You'll probably sing this song next time. If you're in power, I'll be praising you.
He probably might have a verse for me too. Actually, he has a verse for me. I heard a clip of a verse that he sang for me, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, something about the spider web, torfeb, and you know, he gave me some pick on country.
Spider web, torfeb. That's a good one.
And you know, I cannot sing, unfortunately, Andre, but I'll drop a little pick on to at the
appropriate time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
all right.
All in good faith.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, until next week, Thursday, same time for another Meet the Opposition. Today, hosted by Lenard Spider Montoute. Okay, so this is where I have to say so long from my shift for today. Tony Paul coming on next. He'll be with you until 3 this afternoon. From 3 until 6 is going to be Zen the DJ. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Andre Paul saying so long.